This is also developing now. A federal judge is deliberating whether to force the Department of Homeland Security to tone down their use of chemical munitions outside the Portland ICE facility. People who live in a nearby apartment complex filed a lawsuit claiming the gas from those chemical munitions ends up inside their homes. We have a few updates tonight related to protests and the Portland ICE facility. Tanvi Verma is breaking down the closing arguments made in court today. We also have an update on the temporary restraining order put in place from a separate case where a group of protesters and the ACLU sued over the use of force by federal agents. Plus, one protester has reached a plea deal over charges of assaulting an officer and damaging the ICE facility. First, Katu's Tanvi Verma was in court today and has the story for us.
The decision in this case will ultimately hinge on whether the deployment of chemical munitions outside the ICE facility in South Portland unjustly harmed the residents of Gray's Landing, which is directly across the street from the facility. In closing arguments on Wednesday, the owners of Gray's Landing apartments arguing their residents are being deprived of their fundamental right to bodily autonomy. And they say it's because of incidents like this. The residents say chemical munitions deployed at protesters outside the ICE facility in South Portland inevitably seep into their apartments, causing them physical harm.
When they turn on the AC or heat in the hallways, it seeps into the 3 vents that all units have in there, and so the solid tear gas particles are in the air. It causes a lot of distress. It's thick, silly putty texture mucus that it's hard to, expectorate, and it's a lot.
Attorneys for the Department of Homeland Security arguing DHS agents needed to use chemical munitions against protesters for their own safety, and that the residents of Gray's Landing are not intentionally being harmed, but rather being inadvertently harmed, if at all. The defense citing incidents in which protesters trespassed and blocked the facility's entrance, and instances in which protesters had thrown rocks at agents.
We're not valued, and we're not considered worth the effort to be mindful of the families and veterans and elderly and medically fragile people that live here, because it's just who we are. I mean, we are literally speaking on the wrong side of the tracks.
The judge says she'll be releasing her decision as soon as possible. And if she sides with the plaintiffs, DHS will not be able to deploy chemical munitions that will likely seep into the Gray's Landing apartment complex unless there's an imminent harm to human life. Reporting in downtown Portland, Tanvi Verma, K2 News.
Tanvi, thank you for that. Yesterday, a federal judge extended an order from a separate case restricting when federal officers can use tear gas and other munitions outside the Portland ICE facility for another 2 weeks. The ACLU sued the federal government on behalf of protesters outside the building. They argued officers indiscriminately used tear gas and other munitions against otherwise peaceful protesters. The order prohibits the use of gas unless someone is posing an imminent threat of physical harm to an officer or another person. The court will consider a longer pause on the use of tear gas at a hearing on March 2nd.